Hi, Renee. Good to have you here. Do you hear me, Renee? I would trust so, but just to confirm. Thank you. Good. I think I still haven't figured out how the chat window works, but I know the Q&A works. So at least I will request all of you to use the Q&A window to interact with me. And I am going to start the recording now so that we can start on time. Just give me a second. So this is the Q&A one. Hi, Aramide. Hello, Edgar. Hello, Edgar. Edgar is are you a past student by chance? The name sounds familiar. Edgar Sanchez. No? Yeah, I know, Natalia. Chat doesn't work, but you can put it in Q&A. I can still take a look at the Q&A one. So just give me a second. Let me kind of start the recording. So one second. Where is the recording option? Polls, captions, record to the cloud. Anyway, I think I don't hear your sound, so my speakers can be pretty much on mute. That's fine. So I think we have about 25 plus participants already joined the webinar, so I think we can start. And I'm hoping we should get about 75 to 100 participants joining today. So welcome to this short webinar on answering modeling questions in the CCBA and CBAP examination. Many of you may know me. My name is Ellen Mishra. I am the principal trainer and business analyst at Adaptive US. In fact, this had been one of my huge challenging area when I was preparing for my CBAP. I did not come from a software development background. So I came from first, I was a management consultant, so I was helping clients to improve their performance, largely looking at business process management, BPR, those kind of activities. Then I joined an IT firm in their ERP division. So again, some of you might have worked in ERP products, and in ERP products, we don't have much of a programming or development work. I mean, I'm not saying there is no development work, but the amount of development work you do in a custom app is much more than you do in an ERP project. So obviously, my brush with UML and modeling was also a little limited. In fact, in those days, 10, 15 years back, if somebody knew UML, we used to consider that person to be a geek. Like this person knows something that others don't know. But anyway, it was required for me to understand UML reasonably well. And I have been teaching this subject for quite a while. So that's how I developed familiarity, I would say, fairly good level of familiarity with UML and other requirements models. So today I'm going to kind of take you through a little bit of an intro about few models and the models where usually our past students have faced difficulty. And then I will explain those models to you. We will do one quick exercise as well between all of us. And then finally, we'll kind of wind up with your questions coming my way. So I believe many of you might have seen this diagram, which I have put up on the page. This is a diagram I picked up from BABoK. So most of the diagrams that I would be showcasing in the presentation are pulled up from the business analysis body of knowledge, which is the core standard that we follow for our ECBA or CBAP or CCBA examination. I got some quite good answers from many of you. Natalia, we will we'll share the recording by tomorrow. Usually it takes about a day for us to kind of share the recording, but it's not very hard because Zoom is already recording the session and we would have a copy of that recording very, very soon. Truly, Zoom takes about an hour to give it to us. Then we take some time to process it and give it to you. There is, in fact, a very interesting update for all of you, those of you who are here today. And if you happen to be towards the end of the webinar, there is something very interesting that we developed, and it's probably going to be announced in this webinar. It's one of the first tools in this category in the world. I have been associated with business analysis for now 26, 27 years, and I never came across such a tool. If you happen to know any about that tool, let me know. But personally, I haven't seen that tool because we have guided close to 2,000 students to complete their certification, and many of them do come back for recertification. So this is a product which is going to help you in your recertification process. Good. So anybody from Africa? There's some Edgar is from Mexico. Wow, very nice. I hope to visit Mexico sometime. Mostly, my visit has been limited to US, not so much to Canada as well. So I'm planning to visit sometime next year to Canada, maybe year after that to Mexico. I have heard very good comments about Mexican food, and it happens to be very close to what we eat in India as well. Mark is in Austin. Pascal is in Switzerland. Oh, somebody from Iraq. That's very nice to see somebody coming from Iraq. Um, yeah, Edgar says, I'll be welcome. I'm very glad. As a trainer and a teacher, I have students in 90 plus countries. That's something I take real pride in because almost any country I visit, I will find someone who is our student. Ah, okay. Parichaya. Yeah, Parichaya, I know. Okay. Middle East, Jordan. Wow, very good. Anybody from South America? That's a continent we don't hear or see much people joining. Nobody from South America? That'll be good to know. Because oh, Natalia says me. That very good. Puthala is from South Africa. Okay, very good. Africa, I have been to Tanzania, not any other country, but maybe it's a good place to explore as well. Good. Thank you all for joining us. And I hope you will learn something out of this webinar, and it will be helpful if you're planning to take the exam in near future or even later point in time. And I always thank everybody, those who come to these webinars, and I trust you will not be disappointed. Most of our students have found fantastic value by going through the program, getting themselves certified. There are plenty of stories on our website as well. And you're free to check with any one of them on LinkedIn as well. So, my aim today here is to brief you about models, not kind of get very detailed, but I'll try to do one or two models little bit in depth so that we at least understand how you may be troubled while studying these models and how do you understand these models very, very well. So that when you go and see a diagram based question in CCBA or CBAP, you will be pretty much prepared to answer the question. Again, there is a very nice benefit for all of you. And as I said, today I'm actually going to announce a very interesting product for you, and all of you should benefit from that product as well. I just skipped this one. I'm a BA for almost 25, 26 years now. I've assisted a lot of BAs to get IIBA certified. I think it's going to hit 2000 very, very soon. It's, I think, 1955 in that range right now. Another 45 should happen in next 2, 3 months time at most. And I also happen to be the first BA to complete all 7 IIBA certifications, been part of the IIBA standards writing team and questions team as well. Okay. So first question to all of you, though all of you are business analysts, I believe, because you're planning to go for CCBA or CBAP. Why do we need models? Many of you might have studied the value of modeling, models. Anyone can take a guess? Some of you must be, no? Okay. Let me see what you guys say. I will just show you one interesting incident from my personal life. And for that, I am going to go to Google and I will show you a temple which is present in my home state where I was born. This is the place where I was born about 50, 55 years back. The place still exists. It's a very famous pilgrimage place for Indians, especially for Hindus. So this is called this temple. Hmm. So it's a magnificent temple. In case someday you are visiting India, uh, you can actually come and take a look at this particular temple. I will show you. Um, this is the image of the temple. I trust you can see it. So this is about a 300 feet tall temple, and this was built 1,000 years back, not 50, 100, 200, 1,000 years back. Okay, so we generally, whenever I go to my grandma's place when my grandma was alive, we would typically go and visit this temple as well. So we have a customary practice that we take a round around the main temple. I don't know why, but that's a practice that we follow. So I was taking around the temple, and then I find 3 feet tall temple, which looks very identical to the large temple. So we have two temples side by side. One is 3 feet tall, and one is 300 feet. So I was a bit intrigued because what is that this 3 feet tall temple doing when we have a 300 feet tall temple? So I asked the priest there, what is this temple about? It is such a tiny temple compared to the majestic, magnificent, large temple. So the priest says, when the architects were thinking of building the large temple, they actually first constructed the small temple. Okay. And leveraging the dimensions and how the dimensions are spread out in the small temple, they actually built the large temple. Imagine the troubles these architects must have had to ensure structural stability. It's hard to build such a large, tall structure and maintain the structural stability. So that's when they used a model template. So models can be very helpful because they can find things out for us. They can show us faults in what we are trying to build before we actually build them. And we all understand requirements can be ambiguous. That's something we have been told uh, umpteen number of times that stakeholders may express it in a word or sentence that may not be clear to every stakeholder. Hence, modeling actually helps us to clarify requirements in a very, very nice way. So we always say, no, pictures speak thousand words. That's the very purpose of modeling. So it expresses business processes, entity statuses, a lot of things in a very simplified manner, which is very, very clear to stakeholders. It's very hard to interpret a diagram in two different ways compared to interpreting text in two different ways. Texts can be very easily interpreted in multiple manners. You miss a punctuation, words have always meanings which may be different for different people. Like even take this very simple example of customer versus stakeholder versus a person versus an employee. They all look kind of identical words. No? It's the person at the end of the day. They are different from a software development perspective. So this is what I always say. Modeling is very helpful to clarify requirements and make sure that we communicate our requirements well to our development team. And there are obviously difficulties. As I said before, I did not come from a software background, so it was always challenging for me personally as well. And I believe anybody who is not coming from a software development background and significant software development background, they are going to face difficulty. Then you might have heard this word called UML, which is not so popular today. I don't hear so many people talking about UML, but it is still a big part of BABoK. So in the examination, you are still going to see a lot of discussions about UML and modeling, although in practice, you may not see that much. Then modeling comes with a lot of symbols, a lot of rules, how to connect these symbols properly. And obviously, that also can be challenging for anybody who is studying modeling for the first time. Okay, so let's take a quick look. Few things I would like to tell you. Whenever you look at models, understand there is a concept called hierarchy. Hierarchy means models, a particular model can contain models within. So for example, I could have a concept called a superstate and a substate. Okay. So models can always have hierarchy, and it is good to follow hierarchy because that makes the modeling clearer to users. There is also a concept called inheritance, which we will see in a class model, which means a model can inherit properties, or one element in a model can inherit properties from another element in the same diagram. Then the reverse way you go, it's called generalization. That means a particular element can be considered as a generalized form of some other elements. So maybe when we take a look at the picture, it will make it a lot easier for us to understand. Then there is also a concept called multiplicity, which means how one element of a model connects with other entity. Okay, so that is something, multiplicity is something that a lot of people struggle with, how to read multiplicity. So we will take a look at multiplicity and try to understand multiplicity. So this is a very simplified understanding that I have developed over a period of time. So whenever you look at models, treat them as two variations or two variants. One we call structural or static model, and one we call dynamic or flow model. So in the structural model, you can have things like use case diagram, data model that can fall here. And on the flow side, again, you will see data. So data can have two perspectives. One could be a static or structural perspective. One could be a flow perspective. Then you also have activity, which is typically the flow perspective. Then there is something called a state diagram, and there is something called a sequence diagram. Personally, I haven't done any sequence diagram in my life, but I, of course, have done use cases. I've done data models. I've done plenty of activity models, a lot of state models as well, as I have worked as a business analyst for multiple clients in multiple countries. Okay, so this is the same diagram. I think I was trying to copy something. So let me start with a very simple structural diagram, which you guys might see. And again, you start seeing multiple symbols here. One, like a stick-like figure. I believe many of you recognize this figure. This is something that we call actor. And then we see oval shaped entities in this diagram, which are called use cases. So use cases are typically functionalities of a product. An actor can leverage that functionality. That's something not so hard to understand. And also remember, use cases start with a verb and also contain a noun. But there are two interesting relationships that you will see here, which you should remember. One is called an include, and one is called extend. So include is a mandatory functionality. That means it's invoked without your explicit. So that means you don't have to invoke it as an user. It gets invoked automatically in the system. And whereas optional functionality can be invoked based on your need. So for example, I'll show you a very simple example which will make this concept very, very clear to you. So I'm going to go to Chrome. This is a different thing. So let me go back to Chrome. Where is Chrome? I've made so many browsers open now. Uh, this one, let me close. I have to go here. Okay. Just 1 second, guys. I have to go back to Chrome, and I'm going back to Gmail because that's a simple application which I believe many of you would already be using. So I'm taking one functionality called Compose to write an email. Okay. I'm just increasing the font size so that you can see here. And let me write one word here, which is commitment. Now you observe this word. Uh, this is definitely not the correct spelling. So I just press enter. Google Mail automatically corrects this functionality. I don't have to invoke it. So this functionality is already included within the Gmail or email writing use case. Okay. But if you observe, there are a lot of other functionalities which are not defaultly executed. No, so I can put here execute and say something like ln signature. If you see here, so this is something that introduces a formal signature that I use sometimes to write to my partners, but this is something I have to invoke. So this is an extended functionality. Okay, so remember this. Anytime you are observing a functionality that is automatically included in the use case, then that is include, and otherwise it's extend. Look at the symbols that we use, and please make sure that you read it in this way. Use case 2 includes use case 4. But the other way you read it is use case 3 extends the functionality of use case 2. So at least this much concept you be clear. And if I ask you a very simple question now, say between use case 2 and use case 4, which use case is likely to start first? Can anybody answer? Between these two use cases, say use case 2 and use case 4, um, which use case will start first? Use case 2, Miruna? Okay. Somebody says use case 4. No, it's use case 2 because use case 2 actually invokes use case 4. No? Similarly, if I take use case 2 versus use case 3, again, which one will start first? Between use case 2 and use case 3. Parichaya says use case 3, again use case 2. Think, no, I wrote email first. That invoked the spelling correction. Okay. And I invoked the signature functionality. So that means the include and extend use cases always start later than the base use case. So keep this in mind. And if there is any question in the examination that is talking about a timing aspect between use cases, although typically we don't expect use cases to provide timing related information, but sometimes they can ask you a question saying which one will start first, which one will be starting later. And suppose I give a use case name as this. Think for a minute. I give a use case name as traceability matrix, just for a simple purpose. No, we can have any use case name here. So I'm just going to make this fill white so that you can see it. Okay, so I have just created a use case called traceability matrix. Is this a correct use case name? Is this correct or incorrect? Anyone who says this is correct? Just for a quick check. Parisai says no. Miruna says no. Correct. It should start with a verb. So maybe I could say add traceability matrix. Then this is a good use case name because it has a verb and a noun combination. So keep that in mind. Use cases should have a verb and noun combination. Okay. Then I come to probably the most difficult diagram that you may encounter as part of your exam scheme, is which is called the class diagram. It's actually a very simple class diagram that I am explaining here. And again, it's bought from BABoK. So in this diagram, do you see any problem? Is there a mistake in this diagram that you can identify? Many of you might have seen this diagram so many times in BABoK. This is the BABoK diagram. I didn't draw it. Okay. So do you see a mistake? All okay? No mistake? Correct. What Miruna says is right. See, look at class 2. There are no operations. So can there be a class without any operation? No, it has to have at least one operation. So keep that in mind. So this diagram, by chance or whatever, by oversight, has been made a wrong diagram. So minimum one operation is needed. Minimum one attribute is needed. You cannot have a class with zero attributes or zero operations. That's not permitted. And typically, you will have at least two attributes to my knowledge, because typically we will create one unique ID to identify the attribute and some other information about that particular class. So for a minute, let's give this classes some kind of a name so that we can understand. So for the time being, I am calling this as grade, which is essentially the school grade. Think in a way that you are in fifth grade, sixth grade, eighth grade, whatever. And on the other side, we put it as student. Okay. So now, how do we read something called multiplicity? No, this is what I said. Multiplicity is little hard to understand. So in multiplicity, you see certain symbols, star indicating any number, X exactly that number, X dot dot Y starting from X going up to Y, one dot dot star means starting with minimum one and going up to any number. Okay. Now let me ask this simple question to all of you. As per the diagram that is in front of you, um, is it possible that a grade does not have any student? Is it possible? As per this diagram, just go as per the diagram. Can there be a grade without any student? Edgar says no. Okay. Miruna says yes. Yes. See, look at the relationship. You have to read it at the far end. That means you read this statement as something like this. You have to read it like a grade can be associated with zero or many students. This is how you read the relationship between class 1 and class 2. Okay. The other way around, if you want to read, you have to read it in this way. A student can be associated with exactly one grade. Okay. So if you can understand this much, I'll be very happy, because this is something that many students struggle with. They somehow don't get the multiplicity questions right because they are not reading the multiplicity relationships right. Okay. Um, did I make sense to all of you? Good. No problem. Okay. Very good. So I believe now this diagram will start making sense to all of you. So here is one diagram that I drew long back for one of the systems that we were building for a client, which was a project management system. And there are various modules that you can see here: task, project, users, traceability matrix, requirements, defects, requirements history. So many entities we defined in this particular diagram. So can anybody answer the first question? Sorry. The first question to you is it possible that a user does not belong to any project? Again, whenever you are answering questions based on diagrams, just focus on the diagram. In reality, what happens, we don't know. Maybe in your company, there is some rule which will not allow. Okay, so don't worry about that. Don't worry about the real world scenario. Just focus on the diagram. Aramide. Okay. Aramide, again, I'll just go back to the previous diagram. Maybe you can take a screenshot of this, what I have shared with you. So read it in this way. Class 1 is associated with, look at the far end. For the class 1, look at the far end and see the number that you see on the other end, like this. Say, for example, you look at the far end. Always look at the far end. So class 1 is associated with 0 or many entities of class 2. That's how you have to read. Similarly, when you are looking at the other way around, again look at the far end and read it in this way. I just made it as class and student, that's easier to understand. So you can say a student is associated with exactly one grade. That's how you read. Okay, good. So I asked this question to all of you. Uh, where is guest? Okay, so I think Miruna said yes, which is true. Because look at the project. A project can have association with 0 or many users. Similarly, when you look at users, it always says users can be associated with 0 or many projects. So both sides, a project can exist without users and a user can exist without any project. Second question, can defects be imported into this system? Import, yes, you say, or import, no. Natalia says yes, true. Because you observe there is an import functionality here in the defects. So all the functionalities that is being asked are here. All the attributes that we are capturing, okay, are here. So that's how you have to understand. Attributes are basically information that we are trying to store in the system, and operations are the active actions that we take on those data elements. So, third question, can we update requirements history? As per this diagram? Always go as per the diagram. Update yes or no? Mark says yes. Edgar says yes. Okay. No. Why? Because you don't have, see, what am I asking you? I'm asking you update. Update is a verb. So don't get confused with this attribute called update. Okay, because there is no update action available here. There is only add action available here. Whereas this attribute is generally provided in most systems in order to track something called what we call auditability. Who modified the transaction? When was it modified? But for certain tables or certain entities, you are only allowed to add, you are not allowed to update. That's mostly because of, you can say, auditability requirement. Somebody should not be really changing things without our permission. Update is a very dangerous thing. Remember that, no? By updating data, you can actually modify history, which is not something that we would like to. Okay. So don't confuse update attribute with update operations. They are different. Then the fourth question here is, can we delete a very specific schedule? Hmm, very good. I think Rana says no delete. We can't delete. Okay, but there is one workaround. I think many of you might have heard that workaround. There is something called a soft delete. Some of you might know. And a soft delete is nothing but an update operation. So there is a way to avoid hard delete. Hard deletes are not good for programs and from data integrity point of view. So you do have an option called soft delete. Many of you might have done that as part of your project as well. Soft delete is a better option than hard delete. And a soft delete is essentially an update operation. I'm glad you guys are getting it right. This almost took me 2 years to understand. Okay, good. Then there are some other models as well. Some are a little bit more complicated, like sequence diagram is again a bit more complicated diagram, but that's something uh, we will do it in our main program. But we do take you through all these modeling techniques and models questions when we run our main program. So obviously, I will do a 5 minute intro about our company. Then I will throw open the session for you to ask me questions. I trust many of you know us. That's why you are here. We have been doing pretty well for last 3 years. We have been almost world number one in the IIBA certification space. That's because of our focus on IIBA certifications. As an organization, we don't do anything other than IIBA certifications. And I'm very pleased to tell that for more than 5 years now, we have a continuous run of these programs every month, which is, I would consider it to be pretty good record because I speak to many other training providers. They haven't been able to run programs consistently for so many years. And that's because we commit to do a program if there is even one student. Um, Again, we reached a good number, 1950. And then we also introduced something very interesting. So we had this on-demand products, which are pretty aggressively priced. And you have an option now to add live classes by paying a very little extra amount. For ECBA, it's $80, for CCBA, $120, and for CBAP live class add-on, you have to pay $150. That will give you the resources and the training as well. This is what we focus on, essentially content, having good mentors on board, a great support team. These are three guarantees that I think you will see it on our website as well. These are written promises, not verbal. And yeah, there are plenty of examples when we actually have to pay retake fees from our pocket, but that's okay because more than 95% of our students complete the exam in the first attempt. So that enables us to give you this guarantee that if things go wrong, we are going to pay it from our pocket. So these are the people that you will see in our program. Laura has taken a little bit of a backseat now. She's on a sabbatical. So we have one more lady joining us very soon. Her name is Olivia Hampton. She's the chapter leader for the Florida Bay chapter, I think so. And then we also would have one more IIBA Europe head joining us from January, Bindu Chana Barapa. So she'll be joining us in the month of January. And I and Victoria and Laura and Tom, we have been teaching for more than 4 years now with Adaptive itself. Again, you'll find lots of stories. And this is something that I wanted to show it to you. Today, we actually introduced a very interesting product called CDU Tracker. So you can actually go here. I trust you can see my screen. It's called competencypro.app. Okay. So there are two things that you can do in this app. One, you can do a very comprehensive skill assessment of your skills. So you can just click on Assess Now. And right now we have something on BABoK competency framework. You can use the BABoK competency framework. You can also use a business data analyst framework or a business requirements analyst framework. And you can actually keep it over a period of time as well. So you do it today, after 3 months, you can do it again. After 6 months, you can do it again. And this is free for individuals. So this is something that is there. Then we also introduced something called a CDU tracker. So anytime you're joining a webinar like this, or you're joining an IIB webinar, you can come here and add your CD hours. So you don't forget, like, what did I do, which webinars I attended, which gives me CDU. And for us, those of you who are here today, we are going to automatically add your details here. So anytime you join an adaptive webinar, we have the data, so we can update it at our end. You don't have to, you don't necessarily have to do it yourself. But if you're joining any other webinar, say from IIBA or from some other training provider or from some other source, you can come here and add that as well. Okay. So this is something we built and we are going to make it available. It's already available for the community to use. And we also plan to make it ready for other institutions like PMI and others also over a period of time. Right now, it's focused on IIBA certifications. This is again a very interesting book that we wrote for you guys. This is called the 200 IIBA mock questions. So you get to see all standards, variety of questions, and that will give you a clue if you're planning to go for something like CPOA or AAC, any standard for that matter. You can see what kind of questions typically come in those examinations. This is a coupon code that you can keep in mind. This will give you another extra month of access if you buy any of our products within 1 week. So this is something that gives you extra access period. Most of our products have 6 months access period, which is reasonably good. Generally, we expect students to pass the exam within 6 months, but maybe this is still helpful for someone who is going a little slow or someone had some family issues or something. In that case, this will still come in pretty handy. That's about it. This is what I wanted to cover with you guys. We still have about 20 minutes in hand, and I'll be happy to take your questions now. So please put your questions in the Q&A window, and then I will pick it up. Yoon has some questions. Uh, huh. I I think generally we provide 6 months, but if there is any issue, please write to the commercial team. Somebody will respond to you. Copy me as well, so that I am also aware of uh, what issue you are facing. Parichaya says, I'm working as a BA since 2013. Yeah, of course, if you're working as a BA from 2013, it's 11 years of work. So that's good enough to go for CBAP. Generally, we expect 5 years plus to go for CBAP. Anybody less than 5 years, we are a little bit reluctant because maybe you are not matured enough to answer the questions. You may not have enough experience. So it's always good to take a good experience level before you go for. Okay, Yoon, my email address is very simple. It's ln, just 2 letters, ln@adaptiveus.com. For Competency Pro, you have to create a profile. So you can create it free. There is no charge. I think it's probably it should be there visible on the site itself. Let me log out and see here. Create free personal account. You can do that. That's how you register yourself into the application. Okay, good. Then let me go back to the questions. Okay. Oh, chat is working also. For me, it looks like it's working. Maybe not for you guys. Okay, then let me come down. Yeah, product managers, Parichai. Product managers are also business analysts. See, the three roles, product manager, business analyst, and product owner, they have a lot of overlap, including consulting. If you look at consulting, product ownership, product management, business analyst, they're very similar. In fact, I actually produced a very interesting heat map. Maybe I should be able to show you that heat map which I created because a lot of people have a lot of doubt about is product management very different from business analysis? Product owners say, so I'll just give me a second. I should be able to find that heat map for you. And I did it very recently, so it should be there. See, this is something I created, so you can take a look. I can share it with you guys as well. This is how the three roles differ. So it's not that one role completely excludes the other activity, but the focus can be high, medium, low. Say, for example, as a product manager, you need to have high focus for market analysis, what's happening in the market. As a product owner, you're not that market oriented, but it doesn't mean that you don't look at market. You still understand how is the market changing, what features might be more attractive to our stakeholders. You still keep an eye on the market, but that's not your core job. Similarly, if you look at feature elaboration, the high focus is from the business analyst, not so much from the product manager. The product manager understands features, how it is being done, but the product manager may not get into very intricate details about a feature. That that's not their job. They're a bit more outward focused, whereas the BA is a bit more development focused. So this is a heat map I created some time back, and I thought maybe a lot of people are having this doubt that these roles are disjointed. But you can see here, everybody is involved in all these activities or deliverables, but with a different intent or focus. Okay, then okay. Okay, Manian says, I'm already a subscriber to CCBA package. Very good. Completed CCBA. Very good. I'm glad. And of course, you can upgrade to CBAP as well. There is an upgrade option available. So talk to the commercial team. They will help you. Nonye. Nonye, the option that I told you here in the PPT, maybe I can show you, is something if you are an on-demand customer. See, on-demand training does not have live classes, but we have an add-on product available now, which will let you take advantage of the live classes in case you have been an on-demand customer already. So this live class add-on is not available for anyone just to come and attend these live classes, but this is a special offer for our on-demand students. Okay, so that is fine. Manian, I will ask somebody to get in touch with you, or you can also write an email to cs@adaptiveus.com. That's customer success, cs@adaptiveus.com. Oh, Mark, it depends on the standard. For ECBA, it's 16 hours of live training. For CCBA, it's 24 hours of live training. And for CBAP, it is 32 hours of live training over 8 sessions. So we do 4-hour sessions at a go. Okay. Which application screen Pariche? Okay. No, Pariche. It is not necessary that you have a designation called business analyst. What IIBA looks for is what you have done. Have you done business analysis work? That is what is expected, not the title of business analyst. In fact, one of the things that we have kind of created a trouble for ourselves is to very tightly link business analysis with business analyst role. That's a mistake that IIBA did, and we are all partly to be blamed for it. Business analysis is a competency, it's a skill, it's an activity. It can be performed by business analysts. Generally, business analysts focus on business analysis as a part, but many other roles do business analysis as well. Only PPT, not seeing the heat map. Oh, okay. What happened? Why you're not seeing the heat map? One second. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I think I had paused it. I'll show you the heat map in a minute. This is the heat map. I think I should write an article on this heat map um, because it's already prepared, so I can actually kind of explain this in a um, more textual manner. Because sometimes a diagram with an explanation always makes more sense. Although I love diagrams because it's kind of clear, but people want to hear you out. So I can actually record a short video on this heat map and publish it as a video blog and then text blog as well. Now you see the heat map. Okay. Maybe I'll keep it on heat map for some time. Okay. Okay. I think now you saw the heat map. Uh, huh. Okay. If you are an anonymous attendee, we don't know who you are. No. So how would we add you to the tracker? If you are a person whose name and email address is known to us, then we can add from our side. Otherwise, we cannot add. Okay. Sometimes I see, I don't know who is the anonymous attendee, but I see one or two anonymous attendee in every webinar. Okay. Alexander has a good question. I have around 18 years of experience as a BA. You can go for CBAP. There is no need for you to go through a stepped approach. But for somebody, say, 4 years experience, then we will say, take CCBA first, then go for CBAP. But if you have so many years of experience, you can go directly to CBAP. Okay. Now I think the heat map is on. I trust all of you are seeing the heat map now. Oh, okay, very good. Okay, able to see you it again. No worries. Any other question you folks would like to ask me, either on the models or on IIBA certifications or on BABoK? I'm pretty good to answer because I've been doing this work for more than 12 years now. So pretty comfortable with what I teach. You know. And I'm a practicing BA as well. So we keep adding new functionalities. Like this CDU tracker was in my mind for a very long time. So I'll just show you. Because a lot of times students came back and said, Ellen, we know that we need to track CDUs because after 3 years or 4 years, IIB will ask, what are the CDUs? Where do you track them? Then I said, it's not a very hard feature to build. Uh, if you look at it, what are we tracking? It's very simple thing that we're tracking. So, for example, if I say add CDU, this much only is enough. For which certification are you collecting the CDU? What category is it? Is it professional development, self-directed learning, or work experience? On what date you want to record it? Some description you give. Like here, I have given adaptive webinar on modeling questions. This is the webinar that I'm running right now. I should actually get more CDUs because I also prepare for this session. No, you guys only attend. Um, and I could say CDUs on one or depending. Usually for 1 hour event, you add one CDU. That's how IIBA recognizes it. And then you just save and add. And it's there for you to look back and any CDU that you have added, it will be visible to you. So when you are going for your recertification, that time, if you have done CBAP, CBAP will require you to have 60 CDUs. It's a lot of CDUs that you need to gather. Um, so you gather for CBDA and all, it's I think 20 CDU per year. So in general, the expectation is you are spending not about, at least 20 hours in learning activities uh, per standard. Per standard. So I have to maintain 3, 4 standards. So that means I have to spend about 80 hours in CDUs in a year. That's the expectation from IIBA on my side. Hmm. So this is a simple app that we have built, and I'm very glad this got done. So it's now ready. It's released to public as well. And the Competency Pro was there for quite some time, just that we did not advertise it as much as we should. But it's also a good tool. We are going to add competencies for product owner, competencies for product manager. So gradually we will add more roles to come into this platform. But right now it's more on requirements analysis, BABoK, and data analysis. Okay. Daniel, if you have 6 to 7 years of project management, usually I would recommend look at CCBA and not CBAP. CBAP is pure play IT business analysis work. So you might find it hard. And generally, IIB also does not kind of encourage that kind of an application. It says you should have at least 7,500 hours of business analysis experience. Uh, Akindezi apprenticeship is sometimes companies do advertise. Look at startups. Some of the startups may be good place to do internship. We get lots of requests for internship as well, but we are a small team and we already have 3 BAs on board. So it's a little hard for us to accommodate more BAs. Nonya says, can you explain the CDU categories? The CDU categories are something like this. I will go back and show you. So there are 3 categories of CDUs available. Attending a training, joining a webinar. These are called professional development. You're developing yourself. Self-directed learning means you are reading a book by yourself, but you are not attending any event. Work experience means you are working as a business analyst at your workplace. That also gives you credits. Like for me, I am I would say 30% BA in our company. So I spend about 30% of my time in business analysis, 30% time in training and content development, and 30% time in company strategic activities. So I can take 1/3 of my work experience as business analysis experience. That is work experience. And per, I think, 100 hours of work experience, I get 1 CDU. It's very hard to get CDUs from work experience. The easiest one is probably professional development because every hour you spend, you get 1 CDU. Self-directed learning, I have to actually go and check. There are some rules. That is something I think we will give it as a tooltip in the next version. So that tells you for professional development, how many CDUs can you claim and all. But many training institute and webinar providers also tell you. Usually, if it's a 1 hour webinar, they will say you get 1 CDU for this webinar. Okay. No, nothing like that. Tatiana should not really bother, but I think that's an interesting case. Uh, do one skill assessment and then see if you are not able to see CDU tracker. Parichay, for this webinar, you get 1 CDU. Not exportable right now. It's still on the system. Okay. Then, okay. This is a good question, Lynette. Usually, when you are looking at buy versus build kind of decision, look at products available in the market. Do these products meet 80% of your requirements? If that's the case that you are seeing, it might make a lot more sense for you to buy than to build. And also remember, you need not buy everything or build everything. So I'll show you something interesting we have done at Adaptive, and you can try this in your company as well. So some of you might have seen our learning platform, which is what we call Thinkific. It's an LMS that we purchased. It's not something we built. Okay, but what we realized is it's a good stable platform, but it does not offer certain features that we are looking for. Okay, so what we did is we added a couple of modules on top of Thinkific. Okay, so I'll show you this particular module that you see here. This is not a native Thinkific application. This is something we have built at Adaptive and we have incorporated into Thinkific. So for you, it looks like Thinkific, but it is not Thinkific. Similarly, um, we wanted a flashcard module, and Thinkific did not give us a flashcard module. So what we did is we purchased a product called Quizlet, and we added Quizlet into Thinkific. So this is the second product that we have bought. These two are commercial products. Even this is not developed by us. The first one is developed by us. And thirdly, we also realized that Thinkific does not give simulation system. It does not have a simulation system. It only has a quizzing system. So we built another product called Simple Sim, which looks and behaves like actual IIBA certification. This all you can try it for free, not the whole content, but you can try it for CBAP masterclass. You can see simulations, and you can come here and you can say take exam. So this is how the actual exam will also be conducted for you. So you can start the exam. You have the questions like this is the product that I was talking about, which we developed for a client long back. So you have some images, questions, then four options. You also have a option to flag it. That means I want to come back to this question. Oh, this is also there. Okay, so it's almost time to wind up. Let me see if I have any last question that I can answer. Then we will stop here for today. Hmm, looks like I have answered all your questions. Thank you for joining us today. I'm very glad and thankful to all of you for taking your time out, and I trust you learned something new today. And obviously, we are always there to help you in your certification journey. Any one of you would like to become a student of us, you are always welcome. And if there is anything else that you would like us to answer, please reach out to us on our customer success email ID. Okay. Thank you so much. Bye bye.